Last week, the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry revealed a sharp rise in domestic violence cases in Malaysia last year. Faye Kwan is here with more on the numbers. Faye, what are we looking at and what do these figures tell us about the scale of the problem?
Right, so we know that the number of domestic violence cases in Malaysia rose to over 7,000 in 2024. So that's up from 6,500 in 2022 and 5,500 in 2023. Now, NGOs that are working with these survivors are linking a lot of these cases to growing economic pressures. So that's job instability, the rising cost of living and financial stress, all of which can really fuel tension and power imbalances in the home. And similar to official figures, NGOs here are also seeing a rise in gender-based violence cases, despite their efforts to increase awareness and support. And although these numbers that we're talking about here are already indicating a worrying trend, they actually only represent the number of cases that's being reported to police. Right. So beyond that, underreporting really remains a big issue, and survivors may hesitate to come forward due to stigma or fear of retaliation or dependence on their partners, economic dependence on their partners. So others may also be discouraged from the lengthy and complex reporting process, which can really feel overwhelming and unsafe at times. So the reality here, Farhana, is that the true scale of domestic violence in Malaysia is likely far greater than the numbers suggest.
I mean, you mentioned just now challenges in reporting, so there was underreporting, and also challenges in seeking justice. What other obstacles do survivors face, especially in the legal system?
Right, so one major hurdle here is the lack of a dedicated domestic violence court or tribunal. So that means legal delays and a lack of specialized expertise in handling these specific cases. And the government, however, has said that it will look into the Domestic Violence Act, but without a more comprehensive legal framework, underreporting will remain a persistent issue. Now, earlier I spoke to Karya Abdul Malik from the All Women's Action Society, and she highlighted some gaps in the current protection system for survivors. Let's hear more from her.
When we have like a specific court or a specific tribunal, it expedites the processes and there is an expert to govern that matters. We are looking now into the enforcement and there is like a delay in the legal proceedings, that there is a limited protection during the processes that discourage both the survivors and also the victims to seek justice. Is because they wanted to get away from the perpetrator. By having this delay legal proceedings, most of them would be very much hampered by it. And moreover, there is also like a survivors that face financial constraint that prevent them from accessing the legal support that they need. I would acknowledge the Malaysian government initiative that they wanted to review the Domestic Violence Act and also to update the National Family Policy Action Plan. But based on Awam experience in addressing gender-based violence, so domestic violence has remain underreported in Malaysia, and because of due to social stigma and also lack of awareness. So by acknowledging that there is a loophole in the current Domestic Violence Act, there is the government should also be providing like comprehensive mechanism and legal support to the survivors and also the victims.
I mean, like they say, justice delayed is justice denied,
Absolutely.
Right? So, Faye, based on your research, so what should be done to address some of these long-standing issues?
So it's really about moving beyond reactive solutions and focusing instead on prevention. That could be through education, legal reform, or even early intervention. And one approach is really just looking and learning and considering what other countries are doing. Karya highlights that some best practices are from Australia, Sweden, and other countries. Let's hear more from her.
The interesting part is that there is like an expansion definition of stalking. Like now they also include like technology methods such as GPS tracking and also cyber stalking to address the modern forms of abuse. Because right now we acknowledge that yes, there is a domestic violence, and when the survivors has moved out from the home, sometimes there is like a stalking made by either of the spouses or the partners. So that is why we should also be expanding the definition of stalking and also to include this kind of technological mechanism. We can also look into the mandatory rehabilitation programs for the offenders, such as those in Canada and also Sweden, that could help break the cycle of abuse. So all in all, these are some of the examples that Malaysia could be taken off, for example, and also as a model. And on what we can do right now is in regards to education and early intervention, because changing the act and introducing the programs might take a little bit longer time. But in regards to education, it can be started immediately. Once the government give an order to all the schools, then it can be start like not less than a year. It can be such as a school-based program that teach young people about healthy relationships, consent, also gender equality, and also to help prevent abusive behaviors from developing.
Now, definitely worth remembering that domestic violence isn't necessarily seen, shouldn't be seen as a women's issue. It's a societal issue.
I mean, definitely more can be done to change the conversation and challenge the stigma surrounding the issue. Thank you so much, Faye.